and instead go to Congressman Scott Peters. Many of you know Congressman Peters. He is a great ally, the vice chair of the New Dems for policy. He's also in his own right a former local elected official, the first president of the San Diego City Council, so he knows well state and local challenges. Congressman Peter, we love working with the New Dems as great partners and allies, and really appreciate you being here with us to talk about the New Dems 100-day agenda and what we can expect from Congress going forward here with the economic recovery. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks for having me today, Debbie. Sorry I had a little technical difficulty getting on. I am proud to serve as the vice chair for policy for the New Dems this Congress. And we're 94 forward-thinking Democrats in the House of Representatives, making us one of the largest, if not the largest, ideological caucus. We represent of the expansion of the Democratic Party beyond the urban base, reaching out into purple districts across the country. And it's our members who made it possible for Democrats to hold the majority. We also prove that the base of the Democratic Party is far from the socialist label it's often been incorrectly assigned. Our coalition supports the values of most Americans. It's possible to make capitalism work better for everyone, take meaningful steps to fight climate change, recognizing that people continue to drive to work and use gas stoves, and to fix our immigration laws and then enforce them, and to change police culture to root out bad cops without being anti-police. And we believe that building consensus around problem solving and key legislation is critically important, especially given Democrats' razor-thin margins in both the House and the Senate. New Dems want to get to yes, and I think it's like Mayor Gallego said, and those of you who have been involved in local government, I would just say to you that it's remarkable how sometimes the getting to yes and making the deal is of less interest out here, or maybe it's a matter of capability at this point. But that's really where New Dems are, and that's why I think we're pretty aligned with you all. We've recently unveiled our agenda for the first 100 days of the 117th Congress. Through this agenda, the coalition will take actionable steps to help end the pandemic, create jobs, and solve the challenges of the 21st century. It's no surprise that the first thing that is on the agenda is COVID, reopening schools and the economy safely while also addressing healthcare infrastructure, climate change, immigration, other important issues in our nation. And the agenda is not intended to be a comprehensive laundry list of things we hope to accomplish this Congress, or a list of bumper sticker slogans. We're probably not the best at that. But we are looking at targeted solutions that will help our country emerge from this crisis, get us back on track once the pandemic's behind us. And we've been really encouraged to see President Biden hit the ground running with executive orders that take immediate action we need to reverse some of the, to be charitable, mistakes of the last administration, but also to really get us to take on, first and foremost, the COVID-19 crisis. I'm a member this term, in addition to being on the Energy and Commerce Committee. I'm a member of the House Budget Committee, and on Monday, I'll join my colleagues there to finalize the President's American Rescue Plan before it heads to the House floor for a vote. This comprehensive bill meets the moment. I think it's certainly not perfect. Many of us think that there could be some adjustments, but it will strategically and aggressively tackle the challenges that state and local leaders see in their communities every day. So in January, the coalition developed a set of COVID priorities that we share with the White House and House leadership. Many of these policies are reflected in the latest version of the relief package. The American Family Act, which would provide a one-year child tax credit expansion. Coronavirus and Therapeutic Development Act, which will invest $15 billion to enhance COVID vaccines and therapy research, $3.5 billion for mental health and substance abuse prevention and treatment, and about $49 billion for testing, two provisions that the New Dems were certainly strong advocates for. I introduced a bill with my fellow New Dem Vice Chair Ami Bera called the Tracking COVID-19 Variants Act, which made it into the package. That's $1.75 billion in critical funding for the CDC to scale up our national genomic sequencing effort at labs around the country. Sequencing help us understand how the virus is spreading and if the vaccines and therapeutics we develop are effective. The package will replenish funding for critical COVID programs, enhanced aid like EIDL grants, emergency grants, and PPP loans. It provides money to schools to ensure students and teachers can return to classroom safety, and also gives crucial assistance to state and local governments to help prevent layoffs and make up for lost revenue. So the coalition, with its size and weight behind these forward-looking policy ideas, is committing to working with colleagues on both sides of the aisle, committee chairs, congressional leadership, and the administration to achieve results. And looking forward after this first 100 days, we want to answer some of those questions about what the future of capitalism is, what pragmatic action around climate change and infrastructure really looks like, and going forward, how we continue to get people more access to healthcare that's affordable and meets their needs. So appreciate the chance to be with you today. Appreciate all the work you're doing across the country. And for those of you in Texas and the areas around there, we certainly send our love and prayers to you all, and hope you get through this this crisis soon and safely.
Thanks so much, Congressman. I know that you have limited time, but I'd love to just take a couple questions for you if you don't mind.
Sure.
Great. People who are watching can put questions in the Q&A box, both for Congressman Peters as well as our remaining co-chairs who will yet to speak, and Cedric Richmond, who will be joining us later. So go ahead and use the Q&A box if you'd like, but I'd like to just start with one. Congressman, again, thanks for your great work on this. At the top of our introduction about our paper that we're releasing today, we talked a lot about the equity issue being so central to the need to build back better into the economic recovery. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about, from your perspective, how you see that efforts underway on tackling equity in Congress.
Well, I think that's now infused in all of the discussions we have about policy in our caucus, whether it's climate or education. And I would say, speaking for me, I think a lot of people wonder how they can compete and how their families can compete in this coming economy. And so I think a lot about making sure that everyone has access to the right kind of education that they need. I think it's not that four-year college isn't for everyone, although four-year college should be attainable and affordable for those who want to pursue it. We have to think about what the safety net looks like, and what, the portability of healthcare is very important, because people don't stay in one company anymore like they used to. But often people are constrained from leaving their job because they're worried about healthcare. But there's no reason why retirement should be connected to a company. In the age where the gig economy is coming, how do we make sure that workers are protected while they have the same opportunity to pursue economic choices that they desire? So I think equity issues and making sure that everyone has a shot is sort of front and center now in the Biden administration and throughout the Democratic caucus.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It has to be across all of these issue areas. Absolutely. Another question, Congressman, you mentioned your work on energy, and then you mentioned Texas. Obviously, we're seeing this catastrophic situation happening right now. Just any idea about Congress's response to that, and how we can think about avoiding these kind of failures as with climate change in the future?
Well, obviously, we have to invest in resiliency and adaptation. I think California had some issues with rolling blackouts this summer. We had extreme heat, and we did rolling blackouts. Our situation was not as dire as people who are facing freezing temperatures. But I think we're going to see that these kind of extreme weather fluctuations are going to be part of our future, and we have to be ready for them. In a broader sense, just because you asked about energy, we have to be honest about what this is. There's already a little bit of politicization of what's happened in Texas, whether it's the fault of renewables or not. It's clearly not, but we ought to understand from an honest perspective what went wrong and how to prevent it. One of the things that I will work on is in terms of upgrading the grid. We all agree that the nation's electric grid should be more reliable, more secure, and more efficient. One of the things I'm pursuing is more interstate transmission. One of the things we want to do is get renewable energy from where it is, sometimes say Arizona, to where it needs to be, Chicago or Detroit. We need interstate transmission to do that. That's something that takes the pressure off batteries a little bit, but also it works both ways. So today we might be able to ship energy from Detroit to Houston, and connecting the grid, creating a macro grid, it's called, is something I think that's really important for us is one of my projects in the energy subcommittee. But really, we have to have honest conversations about this. And I know that at the local level and the state level, it can be a little bit less political. We have to break through that a little bit more here. And by the way, Debbie, it's not easier because of what happened on January 6th. I mean, it's a tough time in Congress right now. Still a lot of hard feelings that make it even a little bit more difficult than it has been. But we're set here to do the job, and we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to hear, but your point's well taken about the disinformation coming out about what's causing even climate. So, the fact that everything is so politicized is making it concerning about moving forward. To that end, we have a question from Helena Schwartz from our friends over at Build Back Better. She's asking about, if you could just kind of at a high level talk to us about what you anticipate being included in the COVID relief package that ultimately gets passed, and also your kind of the politics of it in terms of passing it both in the House and Senate.
So, to be honest, I was very, very excited about Vice President Biden becoming President Biden. I think one of the things that gives me the most hope about that is that his orientation is that he's a bipartisan person. He comes from an age when Congress worked, when Republicans voted with Democrats, and sometimes Republicans voted two ways and Democrats voted two ways. And I think he could teach us about that because this is not an issue so much just of willingness now to work together, but of competence. No one's had practice sealing the deal and closing the case in this Congress. So the politics of this relief package are that I think President Biden would like to work with Republicans. Their offer of $600 billion was not trivial. I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's not close to the 1.9 that we thought we needed. There's still some time to close the gap and maybe come up with something that's a national effort rather than just a Democratic effort. But we're going to learn a lot about the politics of this because we're pursuing reconciliation, because Democrats have realized we don't have time to sit around and wait. We have to do something. I think there's some room to cut. I think it would be a smaller package. It would leave us some money left over to feel comfortable about borrowing for infrastructure in the future. But right now, I think it's a pretty robust package. I mean, if you're a state and local government, you got to feel pretty good about the aid coming to you. If you're a hospital, if you're a family with children, there's a lot of support in this package. To be honest with you, I really like to see a bipartisan effort. I'd be willing to give up a few $100 billion to come to a deal. But it's still not clear whether there's a mood on both sides to do that. It's going to be a very telling first 100 days, though, because we're going to learn a lot about bipartisanship and the possibilities of working together.
Yeah. Well, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you on behalf of the state and local leaders that are part of New Deal for the New Dems advocating for that direct state and local relief. Yeah. I know that's an important, critical to being able to move the ball forward on so many issues. So just thank you for your friendship and your partnership over these years. And I really appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks, Debbie. I get a little bit wistful about being the city council president. When everyone would return my call, we could actually get stuff done, but we'll keep at it. Thanks so much for your help.